about this, guys? Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Believe we have audio now. Awesome. There we go. Looks like we're all set. Perfect. We'll continue on with the shout out. So today, another episode of Ask Me Anything. So this is a great place to ask your questions, Q&A for your radio, Skybridge, Anytone, anything like that. We're going to cover that today. So if you have questions, I've got my computer here. We can dive into a little bit of the programming side of things. Anything like that, we'll cover you. So we're going to do some shout outs real quick, and then we will get into the questions. So we have Thomas, KI5QPB. Good morning, Thomas. Oh, still audio. Oh no. Okay. People are still saying we have audio problems. Let's see what's going on here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Awesome. Here we go. I believe we have audio now. If not, please let me know. Looks like we had some technical difficulties. The receiver turned itself off. So awesome. We're good to go now. We've got audio, it looks like. So perfect. We'll get back into the stream. So today we're doing another Q&A session. So if you have questions about your radio, your Skybridge, how to program your radio, anything like that, this is the place to ask them. And we will cover them the best we can. And if we can't cover it, we'll get you some help with our tech team who knows a little bit more about it than I do. So awesome. Let's do some shout outs. Who do we have in the house today? We have Andy, KF0EZV. Good morning. Sam, WS4BSA. Good morning, Sam. We have Kenny, KG5KS. Philip, N2OSO. Aaron, W0ADL. Good morning, Aaron. Awesome. Lots of people trickling in here from the stream. Perfect. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. What questions do you guys have? As soon as I start getting some questions come in, we'll start answering them. So we've got actually we have one of the older Skybridges here. The new ones are still shipping back from Hamcation, and then a couple of radios so we can do some demos of stuff. But we'll start answering some questions. Let me get these fired up here. See, another person rolled in. Alex, KC4UFM. Jerry, N4OZE. Wen, W6WHB. And this is a great time to start asking questions, so ask away. And then keep in mind, folks, if you have further questions after the stream or anything like that, feel free to give us a call, 816-532-8451. We'd love to help you with your radio. Anything like that, we'll be happy to take care of you. Awesome. Here's a question. The question is, why does it take 30 hours to upload the digital contact list from my computer to my UV878? I have about 200 talk groups. Yeah, so good question. I'm assuming you're exaggerating a little bit, but you never know. It does take a little while. That digital contact list is a very large list, and it will take a while to upload that or download it to the radio. Either way, it's probably going to take about 5 to 10 minutes, more likely. If it's taking longer than that, there could be a problem for sure. Could be, may depend what computer you're using, something like that. Definitely let us know if it's taken, literally like 30 hours, there's definitely something wrong. We can get you straightened out there. But if it's just taking about 10 minutes, a little bit longer than expected, that's totally fine. That's how it should be. But awesome, great question. Okay, let's see. What is the best beginner radio to start in DMR? Let me add this up here. Okay. Yeah, so that's a great question. The best radio I've found to start with in DMR is one of these Anytone handheld radios. The Anytone 878 series is a perfect radio to start with. And the reason I say that is because you can start off with DMR. It's pretty easy to program. And you can also use it for so much more. You can use it for analog. You can scan with it. It can do just about everything else you might want to do. So if you're just getting into DMR, kind of dipping your feet in it, this is going to assure you have a great radio for everything else, but also give you that DMR capability. Lots of options there. And the cool part is you can actually program it from the front panel oftentimes. We just did a stream yesterday on that, showed people how to fully program their radio from the front panel. So it's got a lot of great options, especially for beginners. And it's got a lot of features, so as you grow with your hobby, you're going to be able to learn more about your radio and utilize more of its features. Let's see. So awesome, great question. Let's find another one here. So let's see. Is it safe to jump firmware versions, or should, oh, what happened here? Why did that change? Okay. Yeah, so is it safe to jump firmware versions, or should you go from one version to the next? Yeah, so good question there. It is totally safe to jump firmware versions for the most part. We've had, you know, why does, let me see, it keeps populating the other question. Maybe if I remove this one. Here we go. Can all of you see John's question now? Hopefully that's up there now. Yeah, so you can definitely skip firmware versions sometimes. For the most part, there have been a few iterations where you definitely don't want to skip them. I know when they changed some of the icons, we definitely had to go with that icon update. So it's just going to depend on the situation. Typically, you can skip a few versions. I've done that without any trouble. But just, you know, maybe read the notes on the firmware you're going to, or and see if it requires a previous version. Because I know there was at one point they did an icon update in some of the older radios, and you had to make sure you got that before you could get the newer software versions. So just keep an eye out for stuff like that, but in general, you can upgrade to the latest without any trouble. Okay, let's find another question here. Here we go, here's a question. Is there a video in regards to adding analog repeater info? I've watched a lot of videos, but may have missed it. Thanks. Yeah, good question. We definitely have some videos, I believe, that will show you how to add analog repeater info, but I like it, so I think we should do it again. So we'll definitely make another video on that. It's very simple. If you watch one of the videos that shows you how to do digital, you can certainly basically use the same procedure. The only difference is, and we'll see if we can show you here on the radio. So if you take your radio here, when you go into menu, and we'll go down to channel set, there's going to be this channel type, so you're just going to switch that over from digital to analog, just like that. And then at this point, you're going to have options for tones. So this is going to be your transmit tone, receive tone, and this is if you want to change both at the same time. You're going to have those options, as opposed to having time slot and color code. So very simple, same thing on the CPS. Just keep that in mind. Awesome, let's find another question here. Okay, here we go. Sam, WS4BSA, let's see, in the CPS under common settings is a group label FM. It looks like I can enter local FM stations here. How to set up the 878 to listen to local FM stations? Yeah, great question. You can absolutely do that. So basically, you can either create a list of them, or you can just rotate your channel knob to the station just like you would in your car. And you can probably what you will want to do is program a button for it. So on my personal radio, I actually have the top button programmed to activate my local FM stations. It works well for me. Now the way you would do that, to set that button up, we'll do it here real quick. So click on menu. Oops, let's make sure you can see it first. Okay. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So go ahead and click on Menu. We're going to scroll down to Settings and Radio Set and Key Function. Then in here, let's see, I believe that is PF3. We'll find out. Then you're going to scroll down till we find our FM radio. Hopefully I didn't miss it here. Sometimes you can scroll over them. Oop. Let's see, Vox. And you can, there we go, FM radio. So number 12 on the list. Just like that. There we go, PF3 should now activate it. So if we press this button, FM radio on, and now you're actually able to rotate your knob up here and change through your different stations. So if I wanted to go to a local station here, I can just rotate this. And I believe you can type them in too, but I can rotate this to a local station. I know there's a local station here, 101.1, so we could rotate this down there and it will be able to play that. We'll see if we can type it in. There you go, and then hit the pound key, perfect. You can type them in too, so at that point it would be able to play that music on the station or whatever that station is broadcasting. So there you go, just hit that button again, and it turns it off. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Find another question. Here we go. Kenny asks, can you take a 578 code plug and use it on the 878 after exporting it and then importing it for the 878? Absolutely. So you can't quite take just the code plug, the RDT file, and transfer it over, but it's going to be very similar. Here, let's jump into the computer and I can show you how that would work. Awesome. Here we go. So we'll open up the CPS here real quick. Wait for that to open. Okay, there we go. Get the CPS opening. Awesome, here we go. So we'll just pretend this is our code plug. So we've read from our 878 radio. And now at this point, what we can do is go up here to Tool. Now normally if you're transferring the code plug from the same radio to another version of that same radio, you would go to File and then Save As, and on your new CPS you would click the Open button. I believe it's around here somewhere. Open. Now in this case, since we're going to a different radio, this will be true if you're going to a radio with a different version of firmware too. You're going to go to Tool, Export, and if you just want the channel list, you can do that, or you can export all up here in a CSV file, and you'll be able to export all of that information. Then on your new CPS, so you're going to take this over, and then on your 578, you'll go up here to Tool. First you want to read from your radio, but then you'll go to Tool, and then Import. Click Import, click OK, and then you're going to import from File List. And you'll be able to import all that information over into your radio. Now, there is one thing this is not going to do in your optional settings. You're going to lose any customization you've done in your optional settings. So just make sure that you change all of your optional settings, or maybe pull them up side by side and just change all those over if you want to keep them. But other than that, you're going to be set and be able to take all of that information over. Awesome. Let's see here. Okay, here's a question. I have Supercode plug in my 878. How do I do the update that just came out? Yeah, great question. So if you're referring to the Ultracode plug that just came out, what you would do is purchase you an Ultracode plug And actually, if you already had the Supercode plug, we might be able to work something out with you. So give us a call, 816-532-8451, and we'll see what we can do to help you get into that Ultracode plug. But basically, you would download it and then just simply import it into your radio. Now, if you've done a lot of modification to your current CPS and code plug, what I would recommend doing is exporting everything like we just showed you here, and then taking that Ultracode plug, importing that to your radio, and then exporting it and kind of combining things in that XL or CSV format to make sure you get all your local information over. If you don't have very much, I would just add that into the new code plug, but if you have a lot of local stuff, it would be worthwhile doing that, and that way you get everything up and running again. Awesome. Let's find another question here. Here we go. Here's a question. Can you use the digital repeater like you use an analog repeater? No talk groups. That's a great question. Yeah, so absolutely. A lot of digital repeaters, or some of them that is, are simply just digital repeaters. DMR doesn't have to include a server hooked up to the internet with talk groups. That is a really neat thing that we've seen recently. Definitely one of the reasons I'm interested in it. But DMR itself is just a digital mode that allows you to talk digitally versus analog. So you can absolutely use a digital repeater just to talk locally on that digital repeater with DMR, and you'll get the advantages of DMR. Better battery life, longer range without dropping your signal, having choppy audio, and overall more clear audio, just a better experience overall. Awesome. Let's find another question here. Awesome. Digital Analog Ham, welcome. He says, tell people about initializing the firmware. So that's a great question. If you have, if you want to initialize your radio, so let's say you want to start from scratch, what you can do here, we'll do it over on this one. So this radio was actually just initialized. So if you want to initialize your radio, what you'll do is turn it off and then hold down the push to talk and the button right below it. Now keep in mind, this will completely erase anything and everything on your radio. So if you have stuff you want to save, make sure you have it backed up, and don't do this if to your friend's radio or anything like that, because it's going to delete everything on it. So hold these two buttons down and then turn the power knob. Oops, actually let me make sure you guys can see that. Here we go. So what you'll do is hold these two buttons down on the side, the push to talk and the button below it. Hold them down. Now turn the power knob on. Keep holding them down. Oops. Okay, I guess we have to reinitialize this one first. I'd already done the process yesterday. So we'll get this initialized and then we'll show you how it works. There we go. Okay, so turn that back off. Here's your radio. Hold these two buttons down on the side, push to talk, and the one directly below. Now turn your radio back on. And you're going to get asked this: are you sure you want to reinitialize your radio? At this point, if you click confirm, it will wipe everything from your radio. So make sure you want to do this before you go ahead and do it. So in this case, confirm, we're okay with that, and it's going to reinitialize that radio. Awesome, there we have it. Let's find another question here. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a question. Yeah, will the Supercode plug work with all DMR repeaters, or is it designed for hotspots only? That's a fantastic question. We get asked this all the time. So the Supercode plug and Ultracode plug, they are designed to work with your Anytone radio in conjunction with the Skybridge hotspot. That's what they're designed for. But it's actually very, very easy to switch it over to work with a local repeater. So let's say you have a local repeater next door to you and you don't have a Skybridge yet, and you want to use that repeater with it, you can absolutely do that. So what you will do is just import that into your CPS, that Ultracode plug, and then click export, and export all, just like we went over a minute ago. And you'll take that list to a CSV file, and then you'll actually just go in that file and manually change all those frequencies. But since it's in an Excel sheet, you can change one and just drag it down, overwrite the rest of them to your local repeater. Make sure you change that time slot and color code as well, and you'll be up and running. I've done this a lot of times. It works fantastic. But it certainly is designed for the Skybridge, so if you get yourself a Skybridge, you can be rocking and rolling straight away. But good question, Andy. I appreciate it. Here we go. In the CPS, on the zone page, is there a way of moving zone into a different order? Okay, that's a good question. I've never personally tried this, but I'm curious now, so let's find out. Okay, so we're going to open up our CPS here, make sure you folks can see it. There we go. So we've got the CPS open. We're going to go up here to these zones. So I have a lot of zones. Let's see, is there any way we can move these around? So it doesn't look like you can drag them. Now what if we take one and copy it? Okay, so we've copied that Skybridge zone. Let's go down here. Okay, so it looks like you can copy and paste. So if you want to reorder your zones, probably be best to build them correctly in the first place, but you can copy and paste. So if you want to reorder them, just copy one, move it, and then get rid of your original one. You may have to rename it because it's going to be a duplicate like that. But there you have it. Awesome, good question. Let's see here. Here we go. Here we go. David asks, are these 878 handhelds capable of duplex crossband operation for amateur satellites? So I do not believe they're capable of that, the duplex crossband operation. But definitely in the chat, one of our techs could let you know, or maybe you folks, if you've tried that before, chime in. I've never personally tried this, but I do not believe they're capable of crossband these radios. That would be neat, though. I want to say some people have actually talked to amateur satellites before, but chime in there if you have had experience in this. I'd love to hear about it. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the question. Let's see. And actually, John chimed in here. He said the N0GSG contact manager software works great for this. I don't know if maybe you're talking about reordering zones. That would be interesting. So if you are, chime in, let us know what you're referring to, because if it does, that would be great for everyone to know about. Okay, find another question here real quick. Here we go. Here's a good question. Missed this one when there were a lot coming in. Awesome. How do I access the hotspot control panel? So if you're referring to the Skybridge, one of the nice things about the Skybridge is it actually displays the IP address on the screen. So if you have it plugged in here, you can use it on your network. If you have it plugged into your network, any device on that network, whether that's a cell phone, a computer, a laptop, a desktop, is going to be able to log into that control panel. And the way you do that, this is if you're using a computer. Let me pull that up here. The way you will do that is to take a look at the Skybridge. And on the screen, you're going to be able to see right up here, there's an IP address. So in this case, 192.168.1.200. Now, all we're going to do is simply type that into our computer, and we will be up and running. So let's try that here real quick. Pull up the computer. Here we go. So we're going to open up a web browser. Just like that. And 192. And I believe it was .200. Enter that in, and because we're on the same network, This is an older Skybridge, so it doesn't have all the new dashboard, so it looks a little bit different. I'd like to keep in mind it is an older one. Our new ones are actually on the way back from Hamcation right now. So just click Configuration, and then once you're in the configuration panel, you can enter all your changes. Now, if it asks you for a username and password, that username is going to be pi-star. That's pi-star, and then the password is raspberry, R-A-S-P-B-E-R-R-Y. So just keep that in mind. If it asks you for that, enter those credentials and you'll be up and running. Now, the other cool thing with the Skybridge, compared to a lot of other hotspots, you can set the Skybridge up completely without a computer. You don't even need to have your own like home internet connection that you can plug into. As long as you have one of these cell phones with a Wi-Fi hotspot, the Skybridge will actually host its own Wi-Fi. So you'll be able to go into your Wi-Fi networks on your cell phone and click on pi-star. You'll see pi-star pop up. If you have your Skybridge plugged in, click on that. It'll probably ask you for your login, which we just covered. Enter that, and you're in the configuration panel on your smartphone, which is really neat. It means you can set it up almost anywhere without having to have a computer or everything like that. And once you do that, you enter your cell phone's its own hotspot credentials in the Skybridge, and then it will actually connect to your cell phone. So you can do all the configuration on the go as well. Awesome. Let's find another question here. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, John chimed in again. Yes, moving zones. So it looks like the N0GSG contact manager software. John's had experience with that working and being able to reorder your zone. So appreciate the information. That's good to know for folks. And then actually Ken chimed in with another idea that may work just as well for you. If you export them to a CSV, being able to reorder them in Excel. So there's another option for you, a couple options on how you could reorder those zones. If you have a lot of them, that could be handy. Awesome, there we go. Alan says the Skybridge is the best. We're glad to hear it. Yeah, we're always looking to make it better for folks. So if there's any ideas you guys have on how we could make it better, let us know. We're always looking to improve and make a better user experience for people. Okay, let me see here. Any more questions, folks? Looking for some more questions. Okay, here we go. Here's a question. Kenny asks, is it best to add channels into CPS or CSV file that you had exported from CPS? Okay, let me just wrap my head around your question here. Okay, so a couple different things you might be asking. So if you're asking about what is better on how to add channels, if you're going to add a lot of channels, like a large list, probably better to export it and do it in a CSV format. Like when I imported the railroad channels, because I like to monitor the railroad sometimes. We live out here by the tracks and it's fun to be able to listen to what they're saying. So I had a list of 100 channels. So I exported my code plug into a CSV format, and then I basically just copied that list over and plopped it in the radio. Now, if I had to do that manually, that would have taken a long time. Now, if you're just doing a few, it's going to be easier to just do them manually in the CPS. So that's going to depend on how many you're trying to move, on what's going to be the more efficient way for you to do that. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, elaborate some more and we'll come back to it. Here we go. Here's a question. Is the Skybridge Plus beefy enough to configure for both DMR and D-Star modes at the same time, especially if it is only me using it one radio at a time? Great question. So there is actually a way to set it up. I've had some folks inform me for multiple modes at the same time, which at one point in time I believed you could only do one at a time, but it's actually possible to do more than one. So you certainly can. we'll have to cover that in a future video, but it is possible. I believe there's a gateway that will allow you to do that, use all of them at the same time. So absolutely. And you can have in the configuration panel, just make sure you enable more than one mode. So if you want to have your different radios hooked up, you can certainly do that. Okay. Here we go. WB2DX asks, what's the best place to learn about the system and how to use it? So if you're referring to anything we've covered here, like the Anytone radio or the Skybridge, the best place to learn about that is actually in Bridgecom University. So it comes for free with your radio or your Skybridge when you purchase it from us. Usually $97 if you didn't get your radio from here. And that has hundreds of videos that are dedicated to teaching you about the radio. Everything we cover in these segments, there's going to be a video for as well. Everything is there, ready for you to learn. It'll take you from beginner to expert, or from expert to super user on your radio, be able to teach you just about everything it can do. And same for the Skybridge. There's a specific course for each one that shows you the basics all the way to the advanced stuff. And it's all sorted so you can work through it at your own pace. Absolutely, everything like that. So that's going to be your best option for learning about it. And, continue to tune into these as well. Okay, here we go. Here's a question. Philip asks, do they have touch screen Skybridges? Great question. That will be really neat to see in the future. So, we'll see what comes down the road, but I would love to see a touchscreen Skybridge. So we'll see what we can convince Bridgecom to do, but I think that would be really neat to see something like that in the future. But currently it's not touchscreen, but the screen provides so much information in such a convenient package that it's very, very easy to configure compared to a lot of different hotspots out there. Awesome, let's see. Here we go. Sam asks another question. What does it mean when missed call is displayed, and how do you find out who called? That's a good question. Now, oftentimes on your radio, it will show the last caller down below. So if you dismiss your missed call, you should be able to see last caller on your radio. It should display that for you, so you should be able to see who called that way. Now, as for, I know some people have asked about disabling it. I'm sure there is. I've honestly never bothered to look into that on my radio. So if one of you folks in the chat has messed around with that, disabling that, or diving more into what it can do, let us know. Okay, here we go. We're going to do probably about one more question, and then that'll be that for the stream. So let's see here. I just programmed several analog frequencies into my 878. They work fine. I wanted them under an analog heading, but the layout isn't like that. Suggestions. Trying to understand what you're trying to accomplish there. I think I understand what you're asking. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you have your analog channels and you want them to show up under like an analog section so you know what they are. So the best way to do that is with zones. So you program your channels, and then what you'll do is if you wanted to, let's say, have just analog channels, you could create a zone that's for analog, put that in there, and then add all of those analog channels to that zone. And that way on your radio, you're going to be able to see, analog channels and then have your different channels. So hopefully that answers your question. Use your zones to organize and sort things. Awesome, perfect. Oh, let's see, we got one more here. Here we go, one more, and that'll be it for today's show. Awesome, here we go. Let's see, Warren asks, does the radio have dual VFO receive? So the Anytone mobile radio, the tri-band, it has dual receive, true dual receive, so it's got two volume knobs that can receive two channels literally at the same time and play them to you, which is really neat. Now, most people don't necessarily need dual receive. This has dual watch, so it's going to do basically the same thing. It takes those two frequencies and listens to them both at the same time, or very, very fast. It scans through them, and if one starts talking, it will play it So it can't literally play them both at the same time, but it can effectively and efficiently listen to 2 channels and just play whichever one you're receiving from. So awesome, there we have it. So I appreciate each and every one of you for attending. If you have any more questions we missed here, give us a call, 816-532-8451. And definitely check out BridgeCom Plus. It's a new thing we've come out with recently. It's a way for hams to stay engaged with the community even more and learn even more about the radios. And it's a lot of other cool exclusive stuff, like you'll get exclusive giveaway access, exclusive access to more content, and you'll even have the entire BridgeCom University library at your fingertips, all included with BridgeCom Plus. So definitely check that out. Something to get into. And with your Skybridge and radio, for those of you, I know we get asked this all the time, like, hey, I want to get into DMR, but I don't have time, I'm busy, I don't want to take the time to program it. We actually offer a plug-and-play package where you can take your radio and the Skybridge and get everything set up for you. So you don't have to spend you know, a couple hours programming it. It's all done for you, and you get it to your door, plug it in, turn it on, and you're talking to people around the world. So if you want more information on that, give us a call, 816-532-8451. That's all I have for today. Take care. Appreciate you folks. We'll see you in the next live stream. I'm Cody, W3AMG 73.